The Halton Warren Estate Railway was initially built in 1807 as a combination of tramway and track to transport stone from Foxvale Quarry to the Junction Canal at Churchman's Quay. The quantity and weight of the stone being transported was causing such damage to the local roads and tracks, an alternative method was needed to be found. Lord Jonathan Stigent Porter was fascinated by the railway revolution spreading across the UK and would have dearly loved to have built and run his own standard gauge railway, but that was beyond his financial capabilities. The issue of transporting the stone from the quarry opened up an opportunity for him to satisfy his passion and within the financial constraints of both the estate and his personal wealth by planning and building a narrow gauge railway. So in 1898 work started laying track and a small De Winton locomotive was purchased along with 10 trucks. Work was completed in August 1900. The railway was a success, and by 1910 there was a greater call for the stone from Foxvale Quarry. More trucks and wagons were purchased and a branch line was opened up to Mallingford, where the stone could be loaded onto the standard gauge railway wagons and then transported around the country. With a connection to Mallingford, it was realised that sheep and cattle from Halton St Mary and the surrounding farms could be transported to the cattle market in Mallingford, and so an extension to Halton St Mary was built. A limited passenger service of 4 trains a day, 2 in each direction, was also opened. Other goods and parcels also started to be carried by the railway, so a small goods yard was created at Hazel Markham. Considering the amount of traffic between Halton St Mary and Mallingford, this became the main line, with the line to Churchman's Quay becoming the branch. All the new works were completed in late 1911. 1914 and the outbreak of World War I meant that there was no further development of the railway. However, by 1920 the war was over and things were beginning to settle down. Over the past 6 years or so, Lord Jonathan had had a chance to think about his railway and future plans for it and the estate as a whole. The railway was already being used to transport sheep and cattle from Halton St Mary in the west of the estate, but there was also arable produce around Halton St Barnabas in the east. A number of unofficial stops had sprung up where passengers joined the train, so there was obviously a need for additional passenger services. Lord Jonathan made his plans. A new branch line would be built to serve Halton St Barnabas. Additional rolling stock would be purchased, suitable for arable produce and also for general goods. Passenger coaches would be procured and additional locomotives to operate the railway. A dedicated workshop and permanent way facility would be required, and this could absorb the existing estate management depot. Following the end of the war, there was a surplus of now redundant railway track, rolling stock and locomotives to be had, an ideal time for Lord Jonathan to expand his railway empire. The railway was more or less complete. Livestock, goods and people were effectively being transported around the estate. The only issue was that the trains were making unscheduled stops at random places to pick up passengers, so a number of halts were built where the estate workers could officially join the train. Following the Second World War, lorries became more common, and the stone from the quarries was being transported direct from the quarry to the end user rather than use the railway network. Motor cars and buses were becoming more popular and people were moving away from using the railways. The Halton Warren Railway was starting to become disused. The branch line to the canal at Churchman's Quay was the first to be shut. The passenger trains were reduced to 1 train a day in each direction. Rolling stock and locomotives were mothballed. By 1955 the railway was all but closed, and it was more of a hobby for Lord Jonathan now. It was then that his grandson William stepped in. William had heard about a group of enthusiasts who'd taken over the Italian railway and had paid them a visit. William suggested to his grandfather that maybe they should look at opening up part of the estate railway and maybe other areas of the estates to tourists. Jonathan agreed, so with William at the helm, plans were drawn up and work started. In 1974 Jonathan died, but not before he witnessed the rebirth of his beloved railway. Halton Warren Estate and its railway is now a successful tourist attraction with a bright future.